Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. On this, this is the 16th, Monday, the 16th of October, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. So what's going on over in the Middle East? Oh boy, well, we have a lot to talk about. The crisis is deepening in Gaza. Concerns grow that further escalation. And last night I saw they were flying 4 of these big... Well, I don't know what the number is on the planes. I think they're C-series planes or whatever. They're enormous. They're big tank carrying, troop carrying behemoths of airplanes, or enormous size airplanes. And they were flying 4 of them across last night. I was watching across the Atlantic, heading over toward the Persian Gulf region. 4 of these big transport planes. Imagine if you were on board those things. You know, flying across the Atlantic, knowing where you're going, probably full of troops and equipment and everything else, you know. And plus, there's more, you know. Let me see, is this the article I'm looking for? Yeah, the United States is sending a second carrier strike group, a second one, carrier strike group. This is an aircraft carrier and all of the armament that goes with it, destroyers and everything else. And they sent 1 in, now they're sending 2 in, as Israel is preparing to expand the Gaza operation. This is a ground invasion they're planning on Gaza. And so the Pentagon has ordered a second carrier strike group toward the eastern Mediterranean Sea, sending Air Force fighter jets to the region. This is what Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said in a statement on Saturday. At least I can pronounce his name easily enough. It's a normal name. All the names I've been running into lately, it's very difficult to pronounce. But anyway, so I mean, I don't want to get sidetracked here. Let's continue on with what we're talking about. Iran is warning Israel of a regional escalation if they launch a Gaza ground offensive. Iran warns that any Israel ground offensive in the Gaza Strip would expand the scope of the conflict elsewhere into the Middle East. Has Iran got plans? There is worries right now that that this war could spread big time to the north with Hezbollah, and there's countries surround, like Syria, just to the north, Lebanon, just to the north. This is a hotbed right now. This has become the new hotbed right now. And you notice there's not much attention being paid to the war over in Ukraine right now, but that war is still raging. So we got one raging, and attention's being diverted away from the war that's raging in Ukraine. A war that could potentially spiral out of control and lead to Article 5. And then we got this war in the Middle East, which could spiral out of control even more. And let's not forget about the third shoe that could drop that hasn't went away, and that's Taiwan. Biden is mulling a visit to Israel as 30 Americans confirmed killed in Hezbollah clashes are escalating. So he's thinking about going to Israel. You know, he'd probably be pretty safe, Biden would, in Israel, especially if he stayed in around Jerusalem. and stuff. They've got this Iron Dome, called an Iron Dome. And it's very effective at stopping these rockets from coming into Israel. I've seen it in action. It looks like fireworks. It's just like pow, 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 and the rockets are going through, and it just looks like fireworks. But you know the thing about these systems like the Iron Dome? I guess how they function is a rocket goes up in the air to meet the rocket that's coming in. And they both explode in the air, both rockets. And so when you use your system like Patriot missile system or Iron Dome or whatever in the heck you want to call it, which is a system on the ground that stops missiles in the air, you have to reload that system. So if you fire the interceptor rockets that go up and meet the rockets that are coming in, you have to reload it with new interceptor rockets. It can get pretty expensive, having to have all those interceptor rockets reloaded. And also, what happens if there's so many missiles coming in that your interceptor rockets need reloading, but you've run out? Your stockpiles run out. What happens then? You know, so there are flaws in these type of systems. What else did I have to look at here? Well, the nations. This sign behind me says, "Bust a deal, face the wheel." Now, there was a movie produced called Mad Max years ago. And in the movie, they were trying to rebuild civilization. They made their own city. This was after the apocalypse, after the world was destroyed. This world we're living in now. This is a futuristic movie about a future in which the world was destroyed, possibly. I don't know exactly how it was destroyed in the movie, but the world was destroyed, and they were trying to rebuild a city for themselves, and they knew that there's basic rules and tenets in society. And one of these rules and tenets is that if you make deals with somebody, you can even make a deal with the devil himself. It's not a good idea to make a deal with the devil himself, but you honor your deals. And this is the way I grew up. And this is the way most of the people that, I guess the little bit older generation grew up. But you know what happens if this tenet is not adhered to? Society breaks apart. If everybody starts to not honor their deals or honor their word, and you can't trust anybody, then you've got a den of thieves. Because there's an old saying, now you've probably heard it before, there's no honor amongst thieves. And this honor referred to is they don't honor their deals. That's another big problem with thieves. But it leads to a breakdown in society. A society can break down to its most elemental part if deals are not honored. And so in the movie, you know, what happened was I guess Mad Max, he didn't honor his deal or whatever, and he had to face the wheel. And so the wheel spun around, and it come up with his punishment. Now here's a photo behind my head of the wheel, you know, and he had to, what he had to do was just spin again on there. There's forfeit goods, there's death, there's head to the underworld. I guess that meant you're pretty much done anyway. What else is there on there? There's all kinds of, there's a gulag, whatever that is, acquittal, and there's a number of them. But you wouldn't want to spin that thing. So he spun it, and I guess he got sent out into the desert or whatever, where he had to suffer thirst or whatever. I forget exactly how the movie... Yeah, here's a picture of him on horseback above my head, and they're sending him out into the desert with some sort of a dummy head on it, and he's backwards on the horse, so he can't even see where he's going. And I guess they swatted the horse, and the horse ran out into the desert. A picture of that. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked a little bit here again. So the nations now are starting to not honor their deals. and banks and stuff, well, I consider what the Fed did a little while ago was very underhanded. The loan that they made after the Silicon Valley banking crisis was an underhanded way of bailing out the banking system, as far as I'm concerned. You know, once you start to squiddle your way around the law and not honor deals, and society starts to crumble. And you know what we're facing? And you guys are out there prepping, you can see it coming. We're facing a restructuring of society itself, a breakdown in society. It's going to break down to its basic element, and then it's going to restructure itself. And I'm thinking to myself, it's probably going to take about 4 to 6 months for that restructuring to occur. And then society will come back, and when it comes back, it's going to be probably a whole lot better than it is now, because the people that went through the breakdown of structure in the structure of society and survived it are going to see to it that we get back to the fundamentals of the way society should be structured, where people honor their deals, where all this corruption in the system is going to be flushed out, including monetary corruption. And I figure it's going to last 4 to 6 months. And during that period in time, society is not going to take care of you any longer. You're going to have to take care of yourself during that 4 to 6 month period. Because it's going to, as the good book says, the elements will become extremely hot and will melt. The elements of society. So, during that 4-month period, don't expect to have any Amazon. Let's just put it that way. Don't expect to have your gas station on the corner open. Don't expect the grocery stores to have any food in them. Don't expect the lights to be on. Don't expect your phone to work. You know, and that sort of chaos leads to disorder, complete disorder, a complete fall in total anarchy. Well, if we're lucky, it won't be everywhere. It'll just be parts of the large regions will go down into this restructuring, and certain parts will stay up. If we're lucky. Very lucky. Most likely is the whole thing will go down for a little while. And it's because we've built our entire society, we've built it on sand. Our foundation's built on sand. The sand's now shifting. It's quicksand. Our whole thing is going to sink. I don't know how I got talking about that, but it's coming. And you can see it leading to that. Slowly but surely. Now, the big question mark is, when? When's it going to happen? Well, war can make it happen a lot faster, depending on how widespread the war spreads and how fast it spreads. But the whole setup with the monetary system worldwide with these global fiat currencies will do it without war, but it might take a little bit longer. Make no mistake about it, it's coming. And it can happen suddenly at this point, because everything's ready. All the pieces all are in position, ready to fall like dominoes. Now all it takes is one little trigger event, you know. Okay. Crisis is deepening in Gaza. This means that water. This is a desert country. Water's running out. Food takes a bit longer to run out. You know. And people can go without food for like 6 weeks. But water, 48 hours is all. Now I heard that they're drinking water from these irrigation pipes that's all like brown and full of mud. That's what I heard. Moving on, we're going to start talking about the financial system right now and what's going on with silver price. Now, I'm going to be explicit with you guys. If this war breaks out and widens in the Middle East into a bigger regional war, expect fuel prices to double. Whatever they are now, just times 2. Or maybe even times 3. When you drive by the gas pump, expect gas prices to double or even triple if this thing turns into a regional war. And this means fuel prices going up. Now, this is the biggest cost behind this silver right here. The biggest cost behind it is the cost of fuel to get it out of the ground and get it into coin form. Or into bar form. Or into whatever. I think it's 1,000-ounce bars they use in industry. So that's the biggest cost is fuel. It's mostly all fuel. Diesel fuel. They use these big diesel engines to run the rock crushers and stuff just to get the rocks crushed so they can get the silver out of the rocks. It's all fuel cost. Or most of the biggest chunk of it. And it's that fuel cost right now and other costs. There's other costs, of course, but it's up around $20 for an ounce of silver. Or getting close to it. And if the miners don't get that fuel cost, they don't mine. And fuel costs double, if we get a war over in the Middle East, means that $20 is going to turn into $40. And that's why the price, you ever watch the price lately? It'll go down to like 21, 23, 21.50, and then it'll bounce back up to $23, and then it'll go back down again to around the $21 mark and stuff. You ever think why it doesn't go down to 18, 17, 16? It is because of that fuel cost behind it. So if the fuel cost behind it doubles and it goes to $40 instead of $20, then they're not going to be able to take it below that, or they won't get any. And so what I'm saying is, if you're an investor right now, if you're just leaving your money in the bank, do you expect to make 100% return on that money? $1 will become $2, and they'll say, "Oh, you deposited $1,000 with us. Now you got $2,000. Hey!" You expect that to happen? No, they'll still give you back the $1,000. But with silver, if that goes from $20 to $40, the fuel cost, because there's a war over there, and they've cut off the Strait of Hormuz, and 20% of the world's oil ain't making it through into the market, and suddenly there's a shortage, and so they're driving the price up, and you've invested your money in silver. Now suddenly you've made 100% profit just on that alone, not counting what could happen because the price has been held down on this stuff for years. If there's a hyperinflation, and of course the fuel costs go up, and the price of everything else is going to go up. You don't want to be stuck in dollars, because a dollar's always just going to be worth $1. You want something that's going to move up with the cost of inflation. So, take a look at this silver. $22.63 right now. And gold is sitting at $19.20. And they're down today. Great time to buy. They're putting it on sale for everybody. Cryptocurrency today, what we're looking at is Bitcoin at 28,000. Oh boy. Wow, I've been saying 26. Suddenly I say 28. Look at her go. She's going straight up today. Ethereum's at 1577. It hasn't seen the move. Bitcoin has. But I've been telling you guys for ages, if you're going to invest in cryptocurrency, stay closest to the trunk. The trunk is Bitcoin. Don't get yourself out on a limb too far, because the limb might break and down you go. And that's these coins when you get way down on the list. Like, look at them. There's thousands of them here. Get way out. That's getting out on the further you leave Bitcoin and move out on these coins down the list, like you're getting further out on the branch or limb. Dow Jones Industrial Average today is 33,995. It's up 395 points. No, 325 points today. So the Dow's up today. Taking a look at crude oil today, and the price is down. But this might be the calm before the storm, boys. If suddenly this thing, a war erupts in the Middle East bigger, if it grows, we're right on that inflection point. And I'm not telling you, they are not sending those aircraft carriers in there for their health. Bonds and rates today. We're looking at rising yields. Looking at the 10-year at 4.72. Now see, the way this yield curve is supposed to work is, these shorter term, the shorter the term it is, the lower the yield should be. And as you move out longer and longer term, the yield should be going up higher, higher yield. It doesn't. This is called a yield curve inversion. You notice how they're keeping the 10-year at the lowest of all of them. That's because debt's priced on the 10-year, and they're trying to hold this system together right now. And this is, when you see that, you're seeing there's an emergency behind the scenes. 4.72 on the U.S. 10-year. It's up 9.4 basis points. And the 30-year is at 4.88, and it's up 10 basis points. This is going to get out of control. Dollar index is going down today. It's at 106.31. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.